Okay, so we're going to just talk about self-employed borrowers. This topic is so kind of like everyone's still trying to figure out the deal with if you are self-employed, how do you get approved for a home loan? This is just confusing. I know there's tax returns and people are telling you 2 years and all this kind of stuff. But the truth of the matter is that I think of all the loan officers, all the mortgage loan officers, probably only 10% of all the loan officers, maybe even less than that, can actually analyze and understand the client's tax return. And this is true. And if you don't believe me, you can even take your tax return, go into a loan officer and ask them to tell them what you say. Hey, so what does it say I make on there? And they'll kind of go around and dance. But if they can't actually tell you what the numbers are, then that means they don't understand, and they're going to just kind of help you maybe get pre-approved, but they're going to basically give the file to somebody else to analyze for you. So you might not get a clear read when you're self-employed initially when you're applying for a loan if you are in the wrong hands and someone does not know how to analyze your income. So that's why it's really important that you know somebody at Fairway, because we are trained on a way higher level than most all loan officers. The expectations that you have to work there, we have a waiting list to even get in right now, because our culture is so that we hire and train and coach, internally, and you just gotta know what you're doing, and there's expectations to work here. So the whole thing is we are looking at a 2-year history, but we're looking at trends and things like that. So if you say on your application that you make $50,000, and then we get your tax returns and it says you made $50,000, but you had $10,000 in expenses, and then you had an employee of that was 20,000, and you had all of this, and at the very bottom of that it says that you only really netted 10,000, because although you earned the 50,000, you only netted the 10,000. So all we can use for your income then is 10,000. Well, let's say then we have another year of tax return, and that said you made $100,000. Okay, so in your mind, you're making more money the next year. But then let's say you had more expenses because you're making so much money, you decided to just really invest that and just market like crazy. And you said that you had $120,000 in business expenses. So you made negative income that year. So we would take a $10,000 and a negative income and average it for 24 months, and then we would get that's the income that we would be able to use monthly. And there's several different layers to tax returns. So if you have a simple tax return, we can do that. But sometimes a tax return has your personal tax return, and then you have your business tax return, and your business tax return has an S Corp or a partnership or all those. Sometimes we have to look at every single one of those to analyze your income and what we can use. And if somebody does not know how to do that, then how can they tell you if you're pre-approved for a loan? You could be making tons of money and have lots of cash flow coming and having a really high end lifestyle, lots of money in the bank and all that. But if we can't document correctly the way your income is paid and how it's trending, if it's likely to continue, if there's all these different questions now on programs and products on what they can do. There's sometimes where you can have a year of self-employment. There's sometimes that you're going to have 2 years. And sometimes you're going to have more than that, because your averages are going down. They're trending down instead of up. So they're even going to look at your current year to date. So you might have 2 years of really good income on a tax return that you provided to the lender, but we're going to ask you for a current profit and loss to see how your business is doing right now, to see if you're trending at the same. So these are things that a higher end loan officer is going to understand and coach you through. Your lender's not going to know that. So even if your credit score is 800, and even if your cash flow is like high, if you are self-employed and you don't really understand how your CPA worked your tax returns. I mean, I've had it personally happen to me where I actually, even being in the business so long, that I had a client that was a W-2 employee, and I had everything except for I didn't have the tax returns. I wasn't really worried because it was a W-2 employee. I had the W-2s in my hand and the pay stubs. And what we realized, which we finally got the tax returns, but it was way late in the game. There was some stalling and there was some computer confusion. And when I ended up analyzing those, which was probably like 2.5 weeks into the transaction, we realized that the tax returns, the W-2 income went into an S Corp, and the S Corp was then paid the borrower individually. So it was actually really complicated, but I had to learn something at that point. I never, ever again will just say, hey, I have a W-2 employee unless I have the tax returns. But you need to be in hands of somebody who understands this is your life, your family, your mortgage. You need to be in the hands of somebody who knows how to analyze and understand your income and can help you. The interesting part is this is even so true. During that whole process on this specific loan, we ended up calling the CPA and had a conversation with a very high-end CPA, which is, he's like, well, they make tons of money. It's great. I'm like, well, that's not what you said on the tax returns. I mean, look at what you said. He's like, well, I gave them all the tax brackets that they were eligible for. And I said, exactly. So when you wrote off all these different, expenses that they were allowed to take because they were the best choices for them tax-wise and they deserved them, it still said that they made way less income than what they put on their application, and that caused a problem. And the CPAs are even like, well, we don't understand how the mortgage people calculate the income. So they don't understand how the mortgage people calculate the income. So can you imagine that the CPAs don't understand how the mortgage people calculate the income? Then how can you understand how we calculate the income? We need to help you do that. So we need to get to your information fast and early and often, just to kind of see where you are and just do a check-in. And sometimes if you're self-employed, you're not planning on buying a house. There's not a big deal. But sometimes you're going to be buying a house in the next, 2 to 3 years or whatever. You need to get with a lender who can look at your tax returns and kind of tell you what your eligible income is. So you kind of know, don't go buy. I mean, there's so many times where people are in a situation where their income is really good. Their business is really good. They're taking the tax benefits that they can maximum from their CPA, and then they're building this dream home, but then now they got to get it financed, and boom, they have no eligible income to use. There's just a lot of different layers on it, and you need to be in really good hands. So we want to be your guide. We want to help you. We want to help walk you through those tax returns and explain to you what needs to happen when it happens. And you don't have to do it, and don't lean on your real estate agent to tell you what your approval or your income is. You really need to get with a lender that knows what they're doing and that has experience to analyze those incomes. So everyone at Fairway, you can go to my app. It's Fairway Now, and download my Fairway Now app. And it's Reed Robin, and I'm in Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, and Oregon. And if you are in a different state and you apply, we will refer you internally to our company, to one of my peeps, one of the other states that I don't have a license in. But we look forward to working with you and helping you, and I hope this video was helpful. Talk to you soon. Bye.